Welcome to the Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Chris.
I'm Tyler.
And I am Brett. And along us again is producer Henrik.
Hello, Henrik.
He is back.
Yes, he is back.
The king of all kings.
It's true. In Sweden and in Canada.
There you go.
But in today's episode, he wanted to discuss things that were specifically happening in Ontario
Yep.
coming to the liquor laws and in terms of a few changes that have been happening. So the Ontario government has recently passed legislation, to expand alcoholic drink sales in Ontario, a promise made by Premier Ford during his 2018 election and second attempt. Okay. He's passing, but not enacting legislation to cancel an agreement with the Beer Store. Obviously, there's a whole thing in terms of the Beer Store and the Ontario government. It's a thing, really. It really is. I'm not going to get into all the logistics of it, but
they have a contract with them.
There's a contract, and there's a cost of breaking contracts out there. And there's some decisions that have been made. And you know what? I don't want to get into the whole politics side of things, but it seems like Premier Ford has been focused a lot on the alcohol
So you don't say.
side of things. And I don't think that's political. I think it's factual.
It's better. He was focused on that. His brother focused on other things. But besides the point.
Well, I think his voter base enjoys, a couple beverages, maybe?
Couple pints, couple wobbly pops for the boys.
For sure.
Fair enough.
And obviously the Beer Store being a consortium, if you will, between large macro breweries.
Yeah, the big guys.
Yeah, right. So it's just a thing in terms of canceling some things out. So the Ministry of Finance estimates that there's going to be 8,500 new locations where consumers can purchase low alcohol products. And again, with this, obviously, wine, ciders, whiskeys, all that stuff is going to be
we'll get there.
in the LCBO still. But
we'll get there for sure. So, the idea put forward here, obviously, is that this is going to take place in 2026. So we have a bit of a cooling off period to see if this actually moves forward. It should. I wouldn't see why it wouldn't. But we have seen things kind of roll back in the Ford government before. Again, not trying to get political.
That's true.
Not trying to get political, but we have seen things kind of move forward and get kind of rolled back.
Greenbelt.
what did you say?
Sorry, he's taking karate.
I just had a tickle in my throat.
Oh, yes.
For sure. So, so the idea behind this is that individuals can go ahead and buy beer, wine, ciders, seltzers at convenience stores, big box outlets, some gas stations, and supermarkets. And we've talked about this before, actually on the podcast. I don't know if it was season 2-ish, I think.
But sounds familiar. When they first. No, it wouldn't have been when they first put it in grocery stores, but...
No, but we have talked about that idea. Yeah. Again, it was with the tailgating piece.
I think it was the 7-Eleven thing or something. Yes. They got a liquor license, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we see that this is going to kind of take place in these certain outlets, and we've talked about this previously. We'll kind of get maybe our own personal thoughts on where this can kind of go. But again, it's going to be more readily available for the consumer, which could be good, could be bad.
Yeah.
We know that Ontario is actually the third jurisdiction within Canada to offer this. We've talked about this before, and kind of growing up, I feel like this was kind of ingrained in our minds, maybe not, of just taking trips down to the U.S. And you'd stop
to
a
the
convenience store,
yeah.
and like your parents would make comments about it, and you'd be like, "Oh, I don't get this. I don't understand this." But you might still get that feeling. But the rest of us, it's one of those things that like it makes kind of sense that everybody should have parity.
You know what the funny thing is? We're saying Ontario will be the third jurisdiction. In his press conference, I'm pretty sure Doug Ford said we are the only place in the world that you cannot get alcohol at the grocery store.
Yeah, the only place in the world in Ontario.
Exactly.
I think you just missed that piece. But it was a strong
try.
It's a strong sentence.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it has impact for those who don't dive a little bit deeper into the understanding.
Yeah.
And I think he relies on that a lot.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So right now, there's a limit in Ontario to the number of grocery stores that can sell beer to 450, and the Beer Store sells the rest of them. And then these grocery stores can only sell singles or 6-packs, and the Beer Store sells 12 and 24 packs.
Right. Yep. Plus.
Right. Plus.
Yep.
So then there will be the changes will be that there will be no caps on the sizes of beer in terms of, how many packs. So the grocery stores will now be able to sell 24 packs if they want to. As well as cider and ready to drink seltzers. so yeah, like I mentioned, or grocery stores currently are limited to 6 packs and singles.
Right. Beer, ciders, seltzers, all that jazz. Yeah.
And you see that when you go into the few grocery stores, like, again, only 450 in the
all
whole
450
province.
grocery stores you go into.
Yeah. Been in all 450.
Which is funny because where I live, there's 2 of them. So that's like another 400.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have one where I live. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Brett, you want to take the next little point here?
Well,
try it.
Oh, you want to try it?
Yeah.
While LCBO locations will maintain consistent pricing, private retailers will be able to set their own prices consistent with relevant regulations. So, for example, if you go to the 7-Eleven in Woodstock, theoretically speaking, they're not going to be selling Budweiser for 75 cents compared to a 7-Eleven in Sarnia. It's going to be selling for $2.
Buck of beer, baby.
Right? Has to be consistent. Right?
Speak about buck of beer. Where did that ever go, eh? It's almost like it never took off.
Surprise.
It was there for a bit, and then people said, well, we can't make money off a buck of beer.
It's also inflation. It's now $2 a beer.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying, though, is it never took off because of that reason, right?
Because it never made sense.
So you might have some discrepancies between different locales. In terms of pricing, but there's going to be a basement and there's going to be a ceiling.
Yeah, and there might be some, small place that says, I want to sell a buck of beer, and everyone in the town will go there to buy their beer.
Or at least the minimum price that you can sell.
Yeah.
Right, whatever the minimum is
sure.
now. Yeah.
And there's definitely going to be people that are going to be right there, for sure, right?
Yep.
The one thing I'm going to think this is really going to help is the profit from our baseball team beer kitty. I think it's going to really help that because we're going to buy beers at a lesser price. We're going to pay the same price.
Shop around?
Yeah, shop around a little bit. And I think we're going to make a lot more money.
We've got guys spread out a little bit. We could use that to our advantage.
Definitely.
Everybody will go into a beer store or a convenience store
7-Eleven,
grocery
whatever,
store at the same time. We'll all FaceTime each other in a group and say, okay, what's the price of X number of beers, this beer, and we'll figure out what the lowest price is.
Now, I have a good question. So, when you go to a grocery store, you might say, checking out, and you say, I'm price matching. Will they price match your beer?
No, because they do not price match on cigarettes either. Not that I smoke cigarettes. But I'm saying, the John players down the street are $12.95, and this
you even know smoke companies, eh? Wow.
What I know is John Player.
Check his pockets.
Check them.
Go right ahead.
All right, so let's cut to it and give our own kind of opinions on this.
Because that's why people are listening, right?
It's for this intel. What are our thoughts on this move? Brett's mouth is open.
You want me to go first?
Well, you open your mouth as if you wanted to say something.
I'm just going to say, I think it's going to have some good and some bad. I think the rise again of domestic or macro stuff is going to be on the up and up because of the price point. Because obviously being a craft brewery or a microbrewery, I don't think that cost is going to be affected at all. So I think you're still, if you want that premium product from a good brewery, you're still going to be paying that same price versus if you are paying for your Budweisers, Bud Lights, MGDs, etc.
Sure, and we know, like, again, basic economic rules, right?
Yeah.
The more you make, the less you can charge for the product per se. And that, I think that's the advantage, right? Like you have more capital that you can use for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's going to be some good things and bad things. It's kind of funny. Like people here, I think they kind of have it ingrained that it's like, if I want beer, I'll go to the beer store. If I want, ciders or whatever, I'll go to the LCBO. And you just kind of know that. You don't really think to go to the grocery store. I don't think a lot of people. Also, as a retailer, there's some disadvantages. Like, you're going to have to get people who are smart serve to be able to sell the beer or the alcohol. You're not going to be able to have the 16-year-old at the cash necessarily. So I think there may be less uptake in the amount of retailers who actually want to sell these alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
And then I think being in the grocery stores, it's more like, oh, I'm grocery shopping. Oh, there's, a beer. I'll grab a 6-pack or something. It's not necessarily like, let me go to Loblaws to buy my beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or 7-Eleven for a taquito and a 6-pack of Budweiser.
Yeah. This isn't a paid sponsorship. Like, he's throwing out Loblaws, 7-Eleven. They're ridiculous. The one thing that I think it's, again, I'll take the political approach. It's good and bad. It's very interesting to me always, and I don't know why we do this, and I would not like to see beer in gas stations. I understand the convenience factor, right? But you use your driver's license to prove that you're old enough to buy something that would impair your ability to drive. It doesn't make sense to me. It's backwards, you know?
Yeah. Or, when you're going to a place like a gas station where you're specifically there
driving
for your car,
vehicle to go ahead and say, you know what, I should buy something that is going to impair my judgment. I don't think that like that makes a whole lot of sense. So maybe out of the convenience stores that are tied to gas stations makes a lot of sense to me, because again, we do this whole we do this whole drinking and driving campaigns, ride programs, and they're very beneficial. And I don't think anybody should ever drink and drive. And we preach that on this podcast.
For sure.
So I don't think making it easily accessible for individuals to buy gas as well as something that would impair their ability to drive the automobile. It's a little bit different if I'm going out for groceries. I can understand that.
Yeah.
So I would kind of keep it away from that personally. I understand the convenience factor, but sometimes convenience does not and will not ever, in my opinion, trump safety.
So, for example, I'm going to throw another sponsor here, Circle K. So, for example, you have a Circle K that doesn't have a gas station and a Circle K that has a gas station. You're okay with the Circle K that doesn't have a gas station to be able to pick up that said stuff, and maybe like a slushy or a couple like milk or something like that, right? Versus if you're going to one that has a gas station, say, hey, I'm going to pay $1.45 a liter and get a 30-pack of MGD.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing is like in your municipality, in your cities, towns, villages, hamlets, whatever it might be, you're going to have options available to you. And I'll be honest with you, this isn't going to reduce price points. It's not going to be like I'm going to be competitive because I'm selling X name beer at this price, and over across town they're selling it for this price. There's not going to be a whole lot of discrepancy within your municipality.
I don't think so.
At all.
And I think so. Again, Circle K is going to be like, it's going to be, let's say a tall can of Bud Light, $3. It's going to be $3 at every single Circle K. The ones who are going to try to cut are going to be the independent convenience stores, right? Because they're going to try to bring that consumer in to also get the lottery, the smokes, everything else.
For sure. But
included, right?
Gas stations are the same way. Like they're always trying to get you into the store so that way you buy all the extra stuff. Now, the thing is, for me is, what are we going to do with allocation of space? Are you going to go ahead and say, okay, well, we have 6 freezers or 6 fridges. One fridge is going to go ahead and has to be dedicated to Ontario product. And when I say Ontario product, I mean Ontario product, not big corporation.
Right. Craft.
It'd be very nice to see local municipalities do like 100 kilometers out of, because we know that they exist. We know breweries exist probably within 100 kilometers of most places.
Everywhere, basically.
Why not go ahead and say, let's allocate some space to the localized craft beer industry, craft ciders, whatever that looks like. Get that in there, right?
I was going to say it because I believe it is 20% that at least has to be, not your macros, right?
No, it's Ontario made beer.
Exactly.
Now, that's different than macro.
Molson has a plant. Labatt has a plant.
And that's what I'm saying. What you see and what you read and what's told to you sometimes is it says it has to be 20%. Now, again, to that point, and I'm glad you picked up on that, Chris, is London has Labatt. They'd be brewing.
Oh, yeah.
They did.
It doesn't necessarily.
They shut down the city to bring in a new tank.
Yeah. They did
2 of them
2 months
and
ago.
They were big.
Yeah,
they were big.
I don't know if you saw them, but they're big.
Yeah, they're
so
big.
that's what I'm saying is that like it should be a hard and fast rule that these are the ones that are exempt from this. That they cannot actually. This does not contribute to that threshold. That's what I'd like to see because again, ultimately, this podcast was made because we wanted to promote the craft beer industry. And not necessarily the big 3, big 5, big 6, big 7, whatever that looks like now.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I in my opinion, I kind of, again, go back to this. I like to kind of just go to the LCBO to get my stuff. It's kind of like one-stop shopping. So that's kind of cool, for everything alcohol. But I'm probably not going to be one that's going into the gas station, going into the convenience store, even planning to go to the grocery store to get beer or wine.
I think the one thing that would maybe benefit it. I don't think it obviously is not going to get changed, but if you go to a bottle shop, remember you have to have a food item with it, right? Whether it be Tootsie Roll, banana, etc. So it'd be at least a little different if you go to 7-Eleven or okay, whatever, get whatever you want, but also have to buy a food item just to kind of constitute and keep it at least somewhat safe compared to what, exactly what the bottle shops have to do, right?
Yeah, or you would hope, that the bottle shops would not have to do that anymore.
Or yeah,
and that's what I was just going to say. It's like that whole thing was ridiculous.
It's pretty silly
if you go ahead,
it was just like you mentioned, silly stuff like banana.
It was
bag of chips.
It was red tape and absolutely ridiculous. Because again, like the person who's selling the beer at a bottle shop has the same exact training as somebody who's selling the beer at a convenience store or an independent or a grocery store. They're trained by the same methods that the province tells you have to be trained by.
Right.
So why do I have to eat something at a bottle shop then I don't have to eat at a grocery store?
Right.
Like, come on.
Makes no sense.
Come on, figure it out.
It's got to be level across the board. Either make it one way or make it the other way. It's got to be level.
Yeah. And that's the thing is there's got to be some logic that gets put into it. So ideally, I think maybe I'll speak for everybody. You can tell me if I'm outspoken on this, but I think we want to see some consistency. Yep. I think we want to ensure that there is some craft beer, ciders, seltzers that have some frontage.
For sure.
And just aren't tossed to the back because you might meet that 20% threshold that doesn't constitute, again, a Labatt's or a Molson's or something like that, but they might be buried in the back. Mm-hmm. So we want to see those options out there. We want to see some localized beers and beverages in localized areas.
And I'm assuming probably out of those 8,500 locations, there's probably going to be a few of them that do offer that option, 100%. But also there's going to be the other ones that just, okay, I'll take my massive ones that I know are going to sell, and that's the end of the day, right?
For sure.
Go by the letter of the law. Yep.
All right. Another Ford decision when it comes to alcohol. What more could he do? Stay tuned. But that is going to be it for today's producer special.
Yeah, thank you again for listening. Keep on listening. Every other Thursdays, the Craft Beer Connoisseurs release a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for these unique producer specials.
And remember to drink responsibly, don't drink and drive, and support local.
So from all of us and producer Henrique, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris.
And together, we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.